Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another Skinner McCook production. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
I'm very well. What a week I've had. Launch a competition and phew. Yeah. So today we're doing more of albums. This was one of Richard's ideas, this one. We've all got greatest hits albums. So he just said, why don't we choose our top 10 greatest hit albums that got to the #1 spot? And I thought, this is a cool one. So I think this one's going to be interesting because there's all sorts in this.
Yeah, there is indeed.
Okay, then. So as usual, Richard will kick us off. We'll go each one and then we'll have a few bubbling unders. Got a huge list of bubbling unders. I haven't decided which ones I'm using yet. Okay,
well,
far away then, Richard.
Okay, well, I am saying only one album per artist again. And I'm really going down the vinyl route here before CDs because there's a lot of CDs that are 3 CD sets and so forth. And I think it's cheating, really. So basically, a double album would be the most for an album on my list. And my number 10, you can shake your head, is from 1977, and it got to #1 for 1 week. And it's Cliff Richard and the Shadows, 40 Golden Greats. That's the one with the white cover and the gold disc shape as Cliff's head on it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's all the singles from his first one, well, the first big one, Living Doll, up to about Devil Woman. So I really like the Cliff 60s singles. I love Traveling Light from the 50s. And even the early 70s ones like Hello Sam, Goodbye Samantha, or the other way around, Goodbye Sam, Hello Samantha, and Sing a Song of Freedom, Power to All Our Friends. It's an album we had growing up. You know, I was 11 when my brother obviously bought it, and I love it. I absolutely love all those songs. So Cliff Richard and the Shadows, 40 Golden Greats is my number 10.
Well, guess what my number 10 is?
You're joking.
Again, it's an album that was in our house, and you're absolutely right. It's got everything you want about Cliff Richard and the Shadows. There's not one track on there you skip. It's a great album. I haven't got it now because it wasn't mine, and I'm trying to hunt down. I know it's on CD, but I want the vinyl.
Yeah, because
it's just a great album. I've cheated. I've actually made it up myself to put on my iPod, but I want to have it in physical thing. It's great. Oh, do you know that in America they're using, I can't remember which one it is, but they're using a Cliff Richard and the Shadows song for an advert, and there's kids saying, who's this singer? He is brilliant.
I didn't know that, no, but Cliff was, I suppose, the UK Elvis, which I think is a bit unfair on him. But
well, there you go. The first one up, we got the same. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It's just something about that album, isn't there?
Okay. I don't think we'll have my second choice, my number 9. It's from 1976, and it was 6 weeks at #1. And this is another one my father actually had. He had it on tape. It was always in the car. And it's Glenn Campbell's 20 Golden Greats. Now, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Don't forget, Glenn Campbell actually sang with the Beach Boys for a while. You get great songs like Rhinestone Cowboy, By the Time I Get to Phoenix. My favourite is It's Only Make Believe, Gentle on My Mind, All I Have to Do Is Dream with Bobby Gentry. 20 fantastic songs. I have no interest in getting Glenn Campbell's discography or any of his studio albums. Those 20 tracks is enough for me, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it too has a cover, the shape of a record. I think it's in a heart, with a picture of Glenn on the actual record label. So
I know that one because my grandma had it.
Yeah,
and it was a great album.
Fantastic album. So it has, and I got that up in the record shop about 3 years ago for £1, and it was in perfect condition, and it was one of the best pounds I've ever spent. And it brought back so many memories.
Yeah, excellent choice. Well, mine's a bit different. Mine from 1979, 2 weeks at #1, and it's Shawaddy Waddy's Greatest Hits.
Yes, that's the red one.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved them as a kid. I mean, growing up in a house full of rock and roll, you're gonna love rock and roll. And I've still got it somewhere. It's probably in a box that I haven't opened up since I moved. You know, there's still boxes I haven't opened, to be quite honest. Yeah, I love a little bit of Sir. It's a great track. Still, I love Shawadi Wadi. I mean, when I did that ranking for my mate Gary, I loved doing it. It was a fantastic ranking just to listen to rock and roll all day. Yeah. So it's the red. I've got both then because I've got one with but the one with the red cover is the one that I got first.
Oh, I love the both of them. I think the both of them are absolutely brilliant. And there's a couple of LP tracks on each of those that are really, really good. So they are. Those Shawadi Wadi albums in the 70s were not too bad at all. So they weren't.
Totally agree.
Well, my number 8 is the most recent one, and it's from 1994, which is nearly 30 years now. And it got to number 1 for 7 weeks in the charts. And it's Carry On Up the Charts by the Beautiful South, which is all their singles from 89 right up to their new single at that time, One Last Love Song. Now, I did a video with Ross Goodall talking about the Beautiful South and the House Martins. And really, it was this album that got me into the Beautiful South. Now, yes, it is a CD, but it was released as a double vinyl as well. And I just think they're brilliant. I really do. I think their singles, they were never huge hits. Okay, A Little Time got to number 1, and then a number 2 with Song for Whoever. And I think a couple of other top 10s. But most of them always sort of sat around the 25 to 35 mark, which is a shame, really, because they're really good songs. And that one there, that Carry On Up the Charts album, it did so well, 7 weeks at number 1, and it sold a bucket load. And that's my number 8.
Yeah, I've got that on CD. So, I mean, I've got one or two bits about Beautiful Self, but yeah, to be quite honest, if you've got that album, you don't need much else. Because I'm not into their albums as much, but that's one of them bands that having that greatest hits album is perfect. And we'll be doing a retro ranking on Beautiful Self very soon. Okay, my number 8. Well, this one came out in 1982, and I've only got it on CD. But it got 3 weeks at number 1, and it's Complete Madness.
Right, okay. Nearly picked it.
Yeah, great album. Again, I'm one of the, I think with Madness, I've listened to some of their studio stuff, and you go, oh. Yeah. But again, it's one of them bands that, you know, when you say the greatest hits is the only thing I need, and Madness to me is it, because they were terrific during their peak, wasn't they? You know, hit after hit after hit, and they're all on here. And it's a perfect album to put on. It's a good, fun album. When you put this on, when I used to do barbecues back in the day, put this on and everyone's having a good time. It's a good time album. And that's why it's my number 8.
Oh, great choice. Great choice. I actually bought 3 Madness brand new vinyl albums from Amazon for £31. So they were about £10 each. Couldn't believe it. So I thought I'd take a punt on it, and I'll be showing them sometime. But I've played one of them, Keep On Moving, and it's not bad. But I also bought the Liberty of Norton Folgate, which is a recent one. Fantastic album. That's why I bought the other 3. Okay, my number 7, and I think you will have this, and it's from 1973, 3 weeks at number 1, and it's Sladest by Slade. And this is a fantastic album. It is like a greatest hits album, but it only goes up to as far as Squeeze Me, Please Me, so they had loads of hits afterwards. But this is really, really good. Come On, Feel the Noise, Goodbye to Jane, Mama, We're All Crazy Now. And then you get some really deep cuts like Look at Last Night, Poke Hill, even...
Oh, I love Poke Hill. It's a great track.
It's a brilliant album. It's a fantastic cover as well. And I love the back cover with Dave with his platform boots on. I just think it's a brilliant album, and my brother had this again. So this is one that I heard constantly growing up, and it deserves to get number 7 in my list. Sladest.
It wasn't in my bubbling unders. It just missed out.
Oh dear. Well.
But I might put another one now you've mentioned it. So my number 7, 1974, 11 weeks at number 1. Elton John's Greatest Hits.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the Greatest Hits albums he's done, this is the one that I love because it's got all the earlier stuff on it, and as far his best stuff, and I love that album.
See, this is the point I made at the start. Now, the very best of Elton John also got to number 1, which features most of those tracks. But I can understand why you are picking the actual original from 74. I can totally understand. So I'm not going to say too much more about that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to say. Yeah, it's a great album.
Okay, my number 6, and if I've had Slade, who else do I have to have? And it's T-Rex. And it's Bowling Boogie from 1972, got to number 1 for 3 weeks. Now, this was really a cash-in album, but it works so well. You have the 4 hit singles, Ride a White Swan, Hot Love, Get It On, and Jeepster. You have a couple of LP tracks like Beltane Walk, and you have some Tyrannosaurus Rex songs. But the good thing about this is they put on the B-sides of the big hit singles. So this is the only place you really, if you didn't have the single, you first heard the magnificent Raw Ramp, which opens side 2, which is an absolutely blinding track.
Yeah, I love that track.
King of the Woodland Cometh, another brilliant one. Woodland Rock is a real good wee rock and roll number. It works so well, and even the Tyrannosaurus Rex songs really do blend in with this album. Yes, it is a cash cow, but it really works, and I love the back cover of it with Mark with his white guitar. I don't know what make it is, but brilliant. So that gets my number 6.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. It didn't make mine, unfortunately, this time around, but it is a great album. But I will be reviewing the box set of the 1972 very shortly as well. I acquired that by default. I hadn't got round to getting it. And my mate Lee had a copy and it wouldn't play. So he got a new set and he gave me the discs.
When they play.
They wouldn't play on my telly or anything, so I put them in my machine and they played. So on my iPod, thank you very much. So I've got 90. So thank you, Lee. Because it's got the Wembley gig and that, so that'll be a pretty good thing. Okay, my number 6. My dad had this album and I loved it. Came out in 1976 and 10 weeks at number 1. These greatest hits albums spent a lot of time at number 1 in the 70s. And it's the Beach Boys, 20 Golden Greats.
Brilliant album. Brilliant.
Absolutely. It's got everything I love about the Beach Boys. And I love that cover with the surfboard. I love this cover. Iconic greatest hits cover.
Yeah, a fantastic album. That is why it's my number 5. 20 Golden Greats by the Beach Boys. And yes, I do like that cover. And if you really think back to the mid-70s, this was the time whenever Hawaii 5-0 was on the TV. And, you got your ads like the old Spice ads with the surfing as well.
Yeah.
I think that was cashed in on that. That's one of the reasons why I don't think they put a band picture on the cover. Because, to be honest with you, the Beach Boys, apart from Dennis Wilson, were not the best-looking bunch of blokes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're not. They wouldn't win any
they contests. But to me, the 20 Golden Greats, I actually thought about this and thought, is there any song I would take off and replace by another song? And I couldn't do it. To me, it's the perfect 20 songs of the 60s by the Beach Boys. Starts off the perfect way with Surfing USA, and you get so many great songs. Like Help Me Rhonda is probably my favourite of the lot.
Yeah, I remember watching them do that at Live Aid.
Brilliant.
It's a brilliant album, and I play it to death even today.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Love that album.
So that's my number 5. So on to you again.
Okay, my number 5. This one's from 1977, 2 weeks, and it's a band that my dad discovered by one of his friends, and he went and brought this album, and it's The Sound of Bread.
Right. Okay. Never
Which,
heard it.
oh, well, I love Bread. People say they're a poor man's Eagles, but David Gates is a fantastic songwriter, singer. You got Larry Ketchnell. It's got If. It's got London Bridge. Everything I Own. Everyone thinks Labi Siffre did, and he didn't. David Gates wrote that about his father. Got all the Make It With You. If you want to get into Bread, that is the one you go for, the Sound of Bread compilation. So go and give that one a listen.
Say that if you ever go into a thrift store or a charity shop, you'll always find a copy of The Sound of Bread in there. And I've never seen one. I know the cover. It's like sort of a yellowy cover with brown writing in it.
Yeah, it is, yes.
But I know a few.
You'll see when the video's up. Yeah, it's that one. It's a great album.
Yes. Well, I don't know what it is, but I know a few of the songs. I Love If and Everything I Own. Okay, my number 4, number 1 for 4 weeks in 1981, and it's Queen's Greatest Hits. Now, I think this is almost perfect. The only thing I would say is I would have loved Keep Yourself Alive to be on it, but let's be frank, it was never a hit, so you can't call it a greatest hits. But I think it should have been on it. From Bohemian Rhapsody opening it then into another one, Bites the Dust. It is great. Now, the thing about the vinyl copy of it is better now because it's spread over 2 LPs. Originally, it was 1 disc, and the songs were a little bit compressed to fit them all in. But it's one of the best-selling albums ever in the UK. It's in the top 3, and it might even be number 1. I don't know, but it's up there. And it's absolute classic. And, you can't go wrong with Somebody to Love. Don't Stop Me Now. You're My Best Friend. We Are the Champions. We Will Rock You. So many huge hits. And as I say, it's been in the charts now for well over 1,000 weeks. So that's Queen's Greatest Hits.
Yeah. I don't own it.
Do you not? No.
I never had the thing to own it because I've got all them tracks.
Well, that's fair enough.
I've got every Queen album, so I'm not going to want to buy greatest hits. So I listen to Queen all the time. But it's a great choice. And, although I haven't got it, I think it's probably one of the best greatest hits albums ever put out. They got that one absolutely spot on. Okay, my number 4. One of them. This one I haven't got on album. I've got it on CD. And I brought it because I just wanted to put all my favourite songs of this band on in one place, and it's Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. Everything on there is what I love. It's got Telegraph Road on it. Okay, now wasn't a chart single, but for me, it is a great compilation hit album of greatest hits in my eyes. It's got Private Investigations. It's got the shortened version of Money for Nothing. Okay, it's got Walk a Lot, but it's got them quintessential Sultans of Swing. It's a great album to put on when you just want a bit of Dire Straits and you want the best of. And that's why it's my number 4.
You're better off having the CD because there's more tracks in the CD than there is on the vinyl album. And it's a brilliant album as well. And I nearly considered it, but I've only got 3 bubbling unders, so it just didn't quite make it. My number 3 is the other way around. There's more tracks on the vinyl album than there is on the single CD. And I am putting David Bowie, Changes Bowie from 1990. Only got to number 1 for 1 week, but I stress it's the vinyl version because the CD version omits Sound and Vision, Life on Mars, and Starman. How could you omit those 3 tracks? I do not know. Basically what it is, it's the original Changes Bowie from 1976, and then they add on some singles after 76. However, the only reason this falls at number 3 and not number 2 is because they put on the Pretty Woman version of Fame, and it is crap. so it destroys the album a little bit. But generally speaking, fantastic album. This really changes one, as I say, plus Heroes, Ashes, Dash and Fashion, Let's Dance, China Girl, Modern Love, and Blue Jean. So double album from 1990, and that's my number 3.
Yeah, the one that I wanted to put on didn't get to number 3. It's that Images.
Yep. Oh, right.
I love that album. I mean, obviously you've seen it's been up on the back screen because one of the first Bowie albums I had. It's a great album, and yeah, good choice. And yeah, for once, you know, but how can you leave off them tracks? It's just bonkers. Okay, my number 3 is actually the band that's this week's retro ranking.
Oh,
from 1974. Now this spent a total of 17 weeks at number 1, but 4 in February, March, and July, and it's the Carpenters, 1967 to 1973. The brown cover.
Brown one, yes. I have that.
Yeah, my mum was a huge Carpenters fan, and when she put this on, whatever I were doing, I would just switch off mine and say, "Mum, turn it up." I love that album. I mean, I love all their singles, but that greatest hits album to me is, it's got the juicy, the best songs that Karen ever sung on that are just absolutely brilliant. I love Sing, I love Top of the World, I love them all. I know people say you listen to heavy metal, but you're a big Carpenters fan. That shows how diverse I am. It's a brilliant album, and it's one that I actually had on this morning when I was doing the housework. So there you go.
She's got a fantastic voice, Karen Carpenter. You know, it's just gorgeous. You know, Superstar, that was on it as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Fantastic song. And Top of the World is a single version. It was on, I believe, 2 albums. The first time it was released, it was like a different version, and then they countrified it.
Yeah, I've got 2 versions of that.
But yeah, great choice. Well, my number 2 is one you've already mentioned, and it's Elton John's Greatest Hits, number 1 for 11 weeks in 1974. And this is what I mean. Like, it is compact. I think it's 10 or 11 songs long. Okay, most of them are on the very best of Elton John, which is technically a better album, a 2 CD set. But my favorite is this first Greatest Hits. And I remember borrowing it actually from somebody in 1981, taping it, and I played it to death. And it was from there that I became an Elton John fan. I started buying the albums. You know, even the song Honky Cat, which is on it, and most people don't really like that. I loved it to bits. I thought it was brilliant. Rocket Man is my favorite Elton John song. And to get, you know, even the sort of deep cut like Border song, which is really, really good.
That's one of my favourite songs by Elton John.
Now, the US version had Benny and the Jets on it, but it didn't have Candle in the Wind on it. I prefer ours with Candle in the Wind, to be honest with you. And then Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. That version is the only version I love. I can't stand the Elton and George Michael version.
Oh, it was cringe. That's just cringe-worthy, isn't it?
Elton's voice is terrible in it. But yeah, absolutely iconic Greatest Hits album, and I still play it today. So that's my number 2.
Okay, my number 2 from 1980. It's one of the very first albums I brought when I had a record player for Christmas in 1980. I had a modern dance set, and I thought it was the bee's knees because I'd had this old 60s one. And I got a brand new one, and I thought it was the brilliant. And I had some money for Christmas, and I went and bought this album from 1980, Deepest Purple. I brought that, Black Sabbath's Greatest Hits, and Axe Attack.
You're heavy metal then.
Yeah, well, I was 1980. I was really getting into it, so I went and brought 3 great albums. And this has just got. It's an album I like playing because it's just got all the classics on. I mean, it includes 2 from Mark III, Burn and Stormbringer, but it's got Woman from Tokyo, Highway Star, which is just a classic. it's just, anyone that's never heard Deep Purple, go and put that on, and then you'll go, yeah, these are good. And I love that, and I love that the album cover. It's a guitar in the purple. It's better than 24 Karat for me. The cover is just absolutely amazing. So that was my number 2.
Excellent choice. Well, do you want to play a wee game here? Do you want to have a guess what my number 1 is, and I'll guess what your number 1 is?
I'd say it's ABBA Gold.
You're half right. It is ABBA, but it's the first greatest hits that came out in 1976. The one where they're sitting on the park bench.
Yeah, that is my favourite. That was in my bubbly numbers.
Now, the reason why I'm giving that is because we grew up with it. Now, I will concede that Gold is a better album. The singles collection is even better than Gold, and ABBA's Greatest Hits Volume 2 is probably better than it. All 4 got to number 1, but the one I really loved a bit is the very first one. There's not many hits off it. There's Fernando, Mamma Mia, SOS, Waterloo are the 4 big hits, and then a couple of minor hits like Ring Ring, and I can't even remember what I Do. But it's really a compilation of the first 3 albums plus Fernando, and really it is the best songs of those first 3 albums, which is why I love it the bits. And if I had to save one ABBA album, of all, it would be that one. So that's ABBA's Greatest Hits, my number 1. So, would you like me to have a guess at yours?
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing you are going for Buddy Holly and the Crickets, 20 Golden Greats.
No.
Okay, right. Go for it.
I'll go through it. It came out in 1987.
87.
87.
No, no idea.
It's got a re-record of one of her hits, and it's an even better. It's not as good, but it's a damn good version of it.
It's the Kate Bush album, the whole story.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
I love that. To me, it's just, I love Kate Bush, full stop. I've got everything that she's ever put out. But for me, this is just, when you want to listen to a bit of Kate Bush, I'll go for this. Okay, it's not got the original version of Wuthering Heights, but the re-recorded is just fabulous.
I agree.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, really good choice.
That's my favourite.
So, there we go. Well, I run through my 3 bubbling unders very quickly.
Yep, fire away.
Right, don't laugh. Okay, but one of them is from 1980 for 2 weeks, and it's The Magic of Boney M, 20 Golden Hits. I love Boney M.
What's wrong with that, Richard? I mean, I did my retro ranking on them. I love Boney M. I grew up on Boney M.
I did a video of them as well. Absolutely brilliant. Great fun. My other bubbling under, funny enough, is Deepest Purple by Deep Purple, which is why I didn't say much. Which I think is really good. Like Child in Time, Smoke on the Water, Woman from Tokyo, Highway Star, all on the same album. Pretty good. Burn is on there as well. And my third one is the one I thought would be your number 1. It's 20 Golden Greats by Buddy Holly and the Crickets, which is one I grew up with again. It was 78 for 3 weeks at number 1, and it's just 20 of his all-time best. That's the one. The brick wall cover.
I have got it, but there's so many good great hits. Now, the one I wanted to be my number 1 didn't get to number 1, which is Status Quo's 12 Gold Bars, and it's the only got to number 3. It's the only Quo compilation I've got.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
One of mine is from 1969. They got 6 weeks. The Best of the Seekers.
Oh, man. I forgot about that as well. That would have been in my top 10. Oh.
Yeah, it's again, Morningtown Ride, and there's just so many great tracks on there.
How did I miss that? I love it. Absolutely love it.
I mean, their version of a season, the Birds, their version of the Birds Turn is fabulous. Judith is fantastic on that. I think is one of yours, ABBA's Greatest Hits, the one on the bench.
Good stuff.
Because it's just that was my introduction to ABBA, apart from Waterloo, of course, on thing. But for the rest of the tracks, that was my introduction. And the other one, if I can read my writing, to scribble this down. Yep. Elvis Presley Gold in 2002. I've got it on CD. It's the perfect Greatest Hits album. Everything you want about Elvis Presley.
Fair enough.
And the other one I've got is Beatles number ones. Again,
you can't argue with it, but there's something about that album that just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. Yeah. I prefer the blue and the red double albums, but they didn't get to number
one. Yeah, precisely.
So yeah, that was fun.
Tablets.
I'm keeping that one in, Richard, because it's just hilarious. Yeah. Hold on a minute.
This is a reminder.
And not for me, for Rocky.
All right, okay. I was wondering.
I'm keeping that one in, Richard. Sorry, because it's just funny. I might even put it in the bloopers as well. Okay, well that was a really good one, Richard. I really enjoyed that. You're talking about some of the greatest hits albums. We're going to have to come up with another one now, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'll come up with one and I'll let you know. So once again, Richard, it's always a pleasure. That was actually this is our 15th. So it's a little bit of a milestone.
Yeah.
Don't forget the contest is still running. Got some great entries. I will be putting a place up today on the channel of all the people's entries, including Mr. McCook's. That's it for me today. We've got Ken Dodd up there, so go and watch that if you like a bit of Ken Dodd and the Diddy Men. And I'll be back on Monday. First up is Mr. Stephen Norris's birthday top 10. We've got some John Mitchell EPs and a great album from Robin Trower, The Bridge of Sighs, the one that really kicked off his solo career. So that's all to say is goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from him. Bye.